we were talking about 20.2 early access preview that we have, and then it's put in the chat this picture about what is coming and like a teaser. If you see here, we have like OAuth integration. I believe Google, Azure, GitHub, and I'm not sure what is the last one, but this is amazing. I do believe that Blazor is getting to a point, a really nice point. And actually, let me show you one project that we also have here. Let me see if it's connect again. That we were actually having. This is. I will stop it and do and run it quickly. Okay, let me close this. Either way, let's come back to this. Again, this is a teaser with the normal credential with XAF, but we also have Google, Azure, GitHub, and so on. This is really nice.
It's automatic connect, basically, yeah.
Yes, yeah, all the about. And if you see here the project that I'm running now, that I have it up just to not waste time, but somehow it needs. We have here,
that's cool.
Yeah, just to change database at runtime, just to create register users, just to reset the password. So nice things are coming to Blazor, and it looks more promising by the day. So from there, let's come back. We have a few questions that we want to discuss. Again, you can see the roadmap for Blazor here. We can actually go and check the demo that is already looking. It's already have the reports. It's already have some validations. It have
conditional appearance.
Conditional appearance. So let's wait for it to load for a second. Okay, let's load. And the great thing is like we have the complete code of this demo. So we are seeing everything that is being developed in the time. So we have the reports actually. You have a contact class and you have the reports already on Blazor. So XAF Blazor is I get excited by the day. So let's go to the questions. We have a few questions that we want to discuss, and then we have another questions more for the community. So let's see how fast we can get to all of this. So let's start with Blazor, because Blazor is the new kid on the block. So will it be possible to convert existing XAF application to Blazor UI? And in this point, we're going to come back to the way of XAF to do the application in a conceptual way, in an agnostic way, that we can reuse all those UI modification, all those logic across all platforms. So right here we have that most data model and some platform agnostic controllers, they will be able to be used in Blazor without minimal or no change. They are actually conserving all the agnostic API like IO space, view controller, view, frame, and so on. Right now, they did a change on the security system on 20.2 to accommodate to the Blazor architectural way of implementing things that I do believe there is a beauty. But it's a different way of how it was doing before, how the XAF security initialization was done before.
And everything is going more async because Blazor doesn't support anything that isn't async.
Got it. So to add 16 platform independent modules to Blazor server, it will be necessary to convert it to Net Standard 2.0. And then you can actually check the guidelines that DevExpress is supplying, or have to port your platform agnostic module to DevExpress, to Net Standard. And they actually, if you have the main demo source code in your hand, you will see that the agnostic module is already converted to Net Standard. So I want to emphasize here, guys, we're talking about Blazor, we're talking about everything that is coming, but feel free to be adding in the chat any questions, either of what we're discussing or any question that you have that you want to get an answer, and we'll definitely get an answer or a follow-up guarantee. So it's good to mention that every code that is platform dependent, if you did a specific controller for web forms, if you did something for Windows, you do not need to rewrite that. You need to redo that implementation, because again, that's just specific to the platform that you're targeting. So in Blazor, you need to redo that part. But besides that, everything else should work, and it should be the same conceptual architecture, the same way of doing things, because they are conserving all the same API. So I will let Jose take this one. What are the deployment recommendations for Blazor? And he actually, we have here, we deploy XAF in Linux, we deploy in Azure, we deploy in IIS. So Jose, you want to take this one?
Well, basically, if you are going to run it on Windows, you just need IIS and the server that, I mean, the database server, and this, you don't need anything else. But the interesting case is for Linux, because you know how stable and web developed are these web servers for Linux. So for example, this morning I was reading the documentation on Apache on how to handle like really big loads of users connecting to the same place. And Apache is like a really mature web server, and you can find information everywhere. So I will say that basically the same requirements that you need to run a SAF-based application on Linux are the same that you need to run .NET on Linux. So there is only like some distributions that will handle it and some versions of the distribution. So you need to check that. That is the main thing, I would say. And regarding hardware, obviously the more the better. But I would say that the one who takes the most amount of memory will be the web server. Because what you want to do if you want to handle like really loads of users is that you have to avoid that the web server make a swap to the file system. If you can avoid that, your application will be running like really, really smooth. And also stay tuned because we will do a test actually, I think today or tomorrow, about connecting X amount of clients to a SAF Blazor application on Linux. We will start with 50, 100, 200, 300, and we will see how much can we do it. And we will track the CPU usage and the memory usage for both the database and the web server. So Jose, you can have an estimate on how it will work.
Jose, I will just a little thing, because the architecture of I didn't test it out, but on the basics, it's like Blazor in general, especially server-side Blazor, which XAF is targeting right now, has no performance characteristics at all it isn't tied to one runtime or one server. You can do like a Redis cache where you share session and session state, and you can scale out because the architecture of ASP.NET Core changed a lot, and especially Blazor is targeted to be horizontally scalable. Of course, you have to do load testings against database and stuff like this, but basically, nothing differentiates XPO, XAF Blazor application from any other Blazor application out there. So you can.
But what I want to emphasize is that there was some limitation on web forms.
Yeah, but they don't exist in Blazor anymore because the architecture completely changed, and so it's much easier to scale horizontally. But it doesn't.
That's what we wanted to prove, that it's like a scale up any application is complicated. It doesn't matter if you did it alone by yourself in just one line of code in whatever technology it is. But to plan it to scale up or horizontally,
you have
never. I mean, it's never like
it's never free. It's never free.
It's never free. You have to have some sacrifices somehow. So that's why we wanted to make this video to show how much you can handle with just one server and what are your other options if you need to handle other servers. Of course, in this case, the video will be targeted to Linux because like you don't carry the licensing price there. And there is a lot of tools really mature for do all those stuff. So we will do like that bridge. Blazor, which is the new kid on the block, mix it with all the ancient technologies that just work well, really cheap. So that's the mix that we wanted to prove in the video. And so stay tuned for that. Javier,
and we definitely after that we'll do the Windows part because we won't forget about Windows. Okay, so there is a couple links here on the question about how to deploy a Blazor server to ASP, how to deploy ASP.NET Core Blazor server, because again, Blazor servers are running an ASP.NET Core application. So, and also load balancing using application request routing. So we have the link from Microsoft there to go from there. But I want to also mention, as we say here, that you need to turn on WebSocket protocol and a sticky session with application request writing. And actually, if you have deployed to Azure one of these Blazor applications, Visual Studio also tell you, hey, I think that you are doing a Blazor application. Do you want to turn WebSocket protocol on? And so on, so on. And these sticky sessions, when you deploy it to Azure, it definitely lets you know, like, hey, do you want to use Azure SignalR service because it's already configured to handle this load and to scale up and do all the things. So definitely take a look at all of these resources. Reach out to us, put a ticket on the support center. This is a really nice, interesting topic that we can actually do a whole stand up on that one. So let's continue. So what is the recommended way? This is another question. What is the recommended way to access and customize detail view controls in 2020? And I think that we talked briefly in that in a meetup before. Actually, Manuel, you talk about that, about the new API, about detail view, customized view item control directly there. I think this one.
It's like a shorthand after.
Exactly.
It's a shorthand that leads you in the right direction.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to change button font or stuff, or it doesn't even matter. If you need to reach out for a control in any platform, you just hook up this event handler and you get the control out of the box. It was really hard in early versions, but it's so easy right now, and you can do all the kind of stuff you normally would do with a WinForms designer. You can access the control on the bare metal, and it's most of the time it's like in this example. It's like I want to show the weak numbers, or I want to tweak the UI a little bit, because I saw in the demo center, hey, this control can do this thing, and apply this option or shut down this option, or and it's the easiest way you can do it ever. Of course, it's platform unagnostic, so you have to do it for WinForms and for Blazor, for example, or for web forms. But it's so much easier right now to do that kind of stuff, because you just have to remember, okay, it is a date property editor. It is the property start date or due date or stuff like this, and it's get called multiple times. So you can say, okay, all my dates editors on the same form will have these changes. So that's really a shortcut and a handy thing to have, and it really makes for the future your code much more proof for breaking.
And
so,
actually, we can
for
see
not
a
breaking.
syntax. We can see a syntax here. Look how neat is this? One line, one method.
Yes,
and you are customizing that one.
With the new C#9 syntax, you can do it one line if you want to.
Nice. So one note is that you never use the onViews control creator for the task in detail view. That's only for list view. So just to emphasize that. So regarding the safe Blazor, because everybody wants to ask about safe Blazor, and I think that next meetup we can do something like UI customizations, and Manuel can show the layout builder, layout engine. And then the next one, I think that it will be already enough time for Blazor to be in a more mature position, so we can come back and do a complete stand-up on Blazor. But if you want to start playing, like if you are like us that cannot wait 1 more second, right here.
Start right now. Start
exactly.
right now. It is there. I did a lot of experimentation, and some things worked very well. I almost shipped something, but I didn't want to, because I don't want to give Dennis any headaches in the morning. But the customers was like, hey, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and they're okay, it's coming in 6 months.
It is really cool. And again, we have already documentation to start getting familiar with it, to follow the tutorial, to get all the same basic tutorial that we have for WinPhones and for XPO network phones. So please go through it. It's really nice information. And they also have the video showing the overview of the new safe Blazor UI.
Oh yeah.
So from there, so and another question is, I created some users and roles with permission and runtime, and I think that there is a ticket with a big discussion about this, how to reuse the security module, the security information between different applications. So if you check right here, how can I transfer data to production in the model updater? And we have talked about how to generate. Sorry. And we have talked about. I don't know what you say, Manuel. So let's continue. We have this ticket of how to generate the security roles via the application UI. So you go and create all your roles and everything in the UI, and then you can create export that as a code, and it's a really nice. I have a video about that where they actually generate all those conversion role generation, all those security, all those permissions, so you can put it on your code and then ship it in your new application as in the updated. So let's continue. We have another question about WinForms and web forms using the. I think that this one is pretty much the same one. Maximize reuse existing code data. So again, I definitely, the security system from XAF, try to use it not only in XAF. Every non-XAF application that I need to add security, I use the XAF security for all these features that we just talked about, all the granular roles, all the permission policy, all the type permission, member permission, object permission.
There's one thing that everybody gets wrong about security. It's like authorization and authentication. And all, if you see a login screen, there's like, okay, that's just username and password. That's not true. If you can you switch back to the one slide with the whole picture? But yeah, that one. Authentication, the left part. You can do whatever you want. I did it with Open Identity or with Google, or who is the user versus what should the user do, or what can the user do. And there is the authorization.net API. That's where XAF security system really shines. You can't do more fine granular control over data than this in any platform.
And one thing that is important to say here is any .NET app. Yeah. Again, console, WinForm, WebForm, Blazor, everything, and they already have a lot of demos ready to go on WinForms, on XPO, and WebForm, and MVC, on Razor.
But so I want to emphasize, no, it doesn't mean authentication and authorization are the same thing, and people get confused about in a lot of talks or demos or stuff like this. You can totally swap out the left part of the slide, but where XAF security system shines is in the authorization.
Because I think Manuel, that like the confusion exists in the .NET world, because it's not about SAF related or Blazor related. Everyone is confused about the authorization.
Yeah, sure. I want just to emphasize that it isn't a new mechanism to authenticate the user. We have a lot of them. OAuth, OpenID, Microsoft OpenID Connect, Google Cloud, all that kind of stuff. You want to know who is the user, and that's handled from identity server and all that kind of stuff. But what can the user do and what should the user see? That's where XAF security system shines. And there's nothing out there that can handle that in the .NET space.
Do they have authorization? Do they have access to the right data? Or do they have authentication? They have credentials to get to the app. So I want to also say Entity Framework Core for the Entity Framework fans is already supported, Entity Framework 3. So one thing is Entity Framework Core preferred over XPO and XAF? The answer is definitely not. They both have the same support, the same capability, the same feature. We are biased. I will go for XPO 99% of the time, unless the client directly asks for Entity Framework. But it's definitely not one over the other one. They both have complete support. They both work perfectly, and they have the same capability. So let's go to a few more questions that we have from the community. One, that we had that we were missing from last time was customization of template for login and master page in XAF web. So let me show something quickly because I think that I have it here, and I will run it while this is loading, and I will show again right here how to use 3 customize. We have the template and we have this one. So this is not something that I actually created or anything. We have, I think that I stopped sharing the screen by mistake. Okay. We have right here the step of how to customize an ASP.NET template. You can go and add a new template and then modify as you want, and then you go to let XAF know what is the new template that you created. And actually, I'm going ahead of myself. I'm showing the wrong demo. But okay, let's do that one first now that I have it up. So one of the other questions was XAF tree list, drag and drop. So I have here that demo. I don't know, that control of stop sharing is exactly on top. Let me move it. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let me move it here. So pretty much what I did was I went to the support center. I typed XAF 3 leaks drag and drop example. I went to this ticket and they actually has a sample. I download it, take a look, see how they did things, and that's it. And if you see, you can actually start dragging and drop things on the tree list. So one of the things that I want to emphasize on that is like most of the time when you run into business object, if you Google it, or if you go to the support center, you most of the time will find a direction, a way to go, a sample project that you can modify. So for the suffer that put these questions, I will put this code. The code is right there in the support center, but I will also put it on my repo. If you have any question, please reach out to me or reach out to any of us. We can definitely help you. But if you see, it's pretty much getting the underlying control of the tree list and modify to allow drag and drop. Nothing else, nothing more. So that's one of the questions. And the second one, that was the one that I started and by mistake opened the wrong solution. It will be this one. That is how to modify the template of the ASP.NET Web Form, because they were saying, okay, Blazor is still not here. Blazor will be more beautiful. Blazor will be different. We can do other things. But meanwhile, how can we customize the template of the application that we have right now? So again, I did the same thing. I went to how to customize the template on the documentation, and I found a ticket of how to change, for example, the web application logo, take it from an image that we are saving in our database, and then adding, I don't know, a text besides. So I just pull it up and change it a little bit. So let's see it here. I will show you the application running, and then I will show you quickly the code. So if you see here, we have this application that we pretty much have a picture that we can go for it, go that picture, and let's select a new one. Let's select, I don't know, the .NET Foundation one. Save it, and if we refresh, it's putting the picture on the, sorry about that, it's putting the picture on the logo. What did I open? Everything that I'm clicking here with this is okay. 8 ways to boost your immune system, everybody. If you guys are concerned with that. By the way, if you see the logo change with the picture that I just had, we also add a meetup test right besides a text besides the logo. So pretty much if we check our code real quick, and it will be just taking a second. And again, I download that project from the support center. I just modify a little bit. We have a new default vertical template that we are using to add those new image called logo and to add the text and everything. If you say here, this is the text that I'm adding right besides the logo. And if we go to the global asset, the only thing that we are saying is this is the new template that I want you to use. That's it. There is nothing crazy. And if you actually go and say add dev express item, new item, we can even go and say, okay, this is the default template. So you add that one, modify to your needs, and say XAF, okay, this is the one that I want you to use. Good to go. Same thing for the staff who asked this question. If you again have any other more doubts, reach out to us. We're willing to help. But I want to emphasize this. I do it all the time. Every time that I run into a business problem, I go to a support ticket, and 99% of the time I find a recommendation, a way to move forward.
And if you're really stuck, you can always color consultant.
Exactly, definitely. Okay, so this is another question that we have. In XAF Blazor now, the validation are going down on the bottom. How to change that position on the validation, and also when dashboard will be available? They are not in the roadmap for 2020. So
I have no idea.
I will let Dennis answer on the chat. Let me put the chat so I can also see it, because I'm not seeing it right now. And I will go to the next one. Gustavo, he's here with us on the participants. He asked on the Facebook group how to scale up a software site for better performance. And I know that this is a big answer, but Manuel and Jose, can you guys give us like a 2 minutes answer of that question?
I can all the thing is, as I described earlier, it is the problem not of XAF particular. It's a problem with how web forms is architectured. The problem is in web forms everything is session based or session state based. So you pay a lot of cost in memory per user. So you are limited by the amount of users because it is in session state. I saw a lot of ASP.NET web forms applications that could scale out and scale up very well with some kind of Redis cache for session state and all that kind of stuff, but it is hard. Scaling out web forms is hard. It's nothing that's particularly easy, and the problem is web forms isn't designed for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people or thousands of people. You can do 10,000 with enough hardware. You can do with clever engineering 20 or 100,000 if you do it clever. The problem is the way the platform is architectured. You always gonna run up in some kind of issue where some kind of session state issue or static memory that's sticking around. And the thing is to scale up a Blazor XAF application on the web is going for Blazor and waiting for it. In my opinion, it doesn't seem right to put so much effort into the old solution or into web forms and going through all that hassle to spread it to get better scale. That's my honest answer. You can do it. There's nothing. It's just code. It's just web forms. There's nothing wrong with web forms, but it doesn't scale. It's not designed for scale.
Okay, so thanks for your answer, Manuel. Now my answer will be something like this: is like the limitations that you have in SAF applications, especially in a web forms application, are not because of SAF, are because of the web forms design.
That's the thing I was saying. Yeah,
you can do it like, as we say, like by hand alone, like in web forms, add new form and so on, and you will have exactly the same problem.
Yes. Yep.
Also, the second thing is that we talk a lot with Javier actually, is that some customers say like, will this scale up to X amount of user? And it's like, well, we can test it with X amount of user, but scaling and writing code is not the same task. Some tasks are related to infrastructure. You should ask to the people who handle the web servers, the infrastructure, I don't know, the array, the list of arrays and anything. So we always come to this discussion. It's like, yeah, you should design your code to use the less amount of memory and CPU and so on. That's your task. But to scale up or out depends on the technology that you choose. So web forms will be one way, Blazor will be a different way, and if you use Azure, it will be magic, basically. So because you don't see the machine. So that's why we're putting so much emphasis, because we do have projects from the past that are using like replications or a lot of other magic that is done through the OS and IIS. But that will be, I would say, it looks already old at this moment. And it looks even older when you compare it with something like what you usually do in Blazor. Because funny as it is, Blazor will use all of the traditional approaches because you can host on Linux. And on Linux, you have a lot of, it's like, you cannot imagine how many ways you have to scale up horizontally and in so many ways. And Apache is so, for example, so stable and mature web server that you will have a lot of information, and most of the cases that you have, they did have like 10 years ago. So they fixed your problem that you have not have yet 10 years ago with some ancient technology. So if they can do it at that time, imagine at this time. So you will have some other boost on performance, I would say, by going to Linux. But that's one of the approaches that we're taking, because if we see in different ways, for example, Manuel, his customers are in the Dutch, I don't know how you pronounce it. That is the area where they speak German. Those countries are like somehow richer than countries in Latin America. So we have United States that everyone does like as a target, but then we do have Latin America, and in Latin America they say like, yeah, we don't want to spend that much on licensing, we don't want to spend that much on the server. But in the DAC area would be something different. So also it depends on your target of like who are your customers. So for us it's like half and half. So we do Azure a lot when we don't want to think about it, and when we do have to think about it, we use Linux. That's why we're putting so much emphasis on Linux. And I guess I overextended.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's great information, Jose. So Gustavo, let us know if that answered your question. If not, you can definitely reach out to Manuel, reach out to Jose, reach out to us, or put a ticket on the support center. We are all here, welcome to help. So
don't forget the Gitter.
Yeah, you can put the question on Gitter. We can chat everywhere. So we also had, and let me come back to this quickly. I believe, Dennis, I was looking at the Facebook group while Jose and Manuel was talking. I believe that we're talking about this validation message, that if, let's say that we want it maybe on top, or maybe we want it, I don't know, in the middle, like a toast or something. Like, is there a way that we can, I guess that's what they're asking. Like, is there a way to change that? And regarding the dashboard, of course, I know that this is not coming in 20.2. I think that that was just a general question. If you have some insight, where should that be coming? But definitely, we can integrate a custom control and add the functionality there and so on, so on. So the next question, Dennis already answered on the chat, and there was a big discussion yesterday on our Facebook group about what is a better alternative for XPView. And that was the question. So it's a little general because we need to see where are we using it, how are we using it, why are we using it exactly. So the answer that then it posts on the chat, it all depends on your use case scenario. SP query is my default choice for code calculation logic. If you want to present a projection of data modeling grid, XPView, XP query are good. If you have a lot of data, consider XP server mode view, XP instant feedback view, and there are might be other options, but we always have to emphasize this. It's depending of your scenario. We use XPView a lot for improving performance, and it has worked great. And Manuel yesterday was talking on the Facebook group about XP Cursor. So I think that the answer it will be it depends, because every scenario is different. Manuel, please.
I want to emphasize on XP Cursor. The thing is, most of the time I'm when I'm dealing a lot with old systems, porting and importing stuff and stuff like this. So if you have a lot of data, but you want to have a rich data model where everything is in memory, but you have to do it row for row for row, for example, for an import, use XP Cursor. So it's a paging cursor that loads 100 rows into memory, and you iterate over it or do some calculations, some like totals, for example, and then those 100 objects get thrown away, and then the next 100 objects get loaded into memory. So it's like a stream. It's a stream of rows. You get it in a nice for each loop. XPO, on the other hand, is like we do a vertical slice, selecting data out of a column. So it's like a select name, last name, age from customer, and there's like 100 other other rows. And now with the new server view mode thing, it's like you can load like 2 rows, 2 columns, and 100 rows. It's like the best of both worlds. It's like an image into your database. But the discussion about this feature wasn't about what's the best alternative about XPO. It was like the performance of his application was slow because he didn't understand the fundamentals. And you can have this all the time when you don't understand SQL, or you don't understand object-oriented programming or other stuff. It's like, okay, I have this problem. My application is like eating hundreds of gigabytes of memory, and I have no idea why. It's like you have misunderstood the fundamentals, how to deal with those primitives, and I think the question is the wrong question, because what is the best alternative to XPO? There is no alternative to XPO besides link to XPO, for example.
Maybe doing a direct query would be the only alternative. And you think that it would not speed up that much.
Not only this, because if you do it the wrong way, it will go even worse. Because if you don't understand SQL and execution plans, then you can't write ultra performant XPO application code. The thing is, the question is wrong, in my opinion. It's not what's the best alternative to XPO. Why is my implementation of XPO so slow?
Yeah, exactly.
I am on the wrong primitives, or I'm using the wrong tool for the wrong problem.
Usually I tell the customers in those cases is that if you think that you can replicate it by doing the query yourself, try to do it like that. And if the performance is too big difference, it means that something in the code is wrong, because it's usually go like really close one to each other. It's not like the overhead that XPO introduced in XAF or in any other application.
It's so low.
It's like really, really small.
Yeah.
So
most of the time it's really, really, really
small. So like if it's bigger than X amount, it means that you use it wrong, in the wrong way. So you need to find the way, because if you do it the right way, if you put data reader from ADO versus an XPO, will be almost the same performance.
There's a good question on the chat right now. What about very, very, very large record sets? How you can page and avoid out of memory errors? That's exactly the thing. Where the XP server view source really, really shines. But the thing is, what do you want to do with the data? Do you want to show it to the user? Do you want to calculate stuff on the totals? Do you want to do aggregates? Do you want to whatever? Do you want to copy over to another data source? There's all different scenarios, and all those scenarios have different answers, but they have to be different answers because they are fundamentally different because RMDBs work the way they are working, and you can't expect to do a select star from X where you have like 9 million rows in the database and expect it to be fast.
Yeah,
and
I know.
the thing is, do you move the calculation into the database, or you have to do it in memory because there's no other way? Or is it like, or we have so much rows we can't avoid the memory problem?
Usually, I will tell you, we train a lot of companies when they want to start the development in XAF. So I tell them something like this. Okay, since you're so productive in XAF that, I mean, what it used to take you like 3 days, now it takes like 20 minutes. It means that you have more time, so you can do stuff that really add value. And for me, adding value is like, okay, I will ask the customer, like, how much you spend on data for the first year, the second year, and the third year. And let's try to emulate it to see since the moment one that you start your application, I mean, when it goes on production, it's like, we already load this list view with 1 million records, so we know that it's good. Don't wait for it to explode in 5 years. I mean, ask the question to your customer, like, what do you expect for growth in data in these entities? And if you handle that well, I mean, basically you can guarantee the performance from day one till the 5 years in the future, really easy. So it's like, use that time that you're saving with XAF and project your scenarios. That will help you a lot in the future because you can foresee any problem or your design. Most of the design will work really well with 2 records, but with 1 million records, which is the question that everyone asks, can I handle 1 million records? You can.
Yes.
You write it in the good way. That's the answer for that.
I'm just seeing in the chat a really interesting SQL statement from GPT. I have no idea how to project that to XPO, but you can write SQL statements. You can map to views. You can do all the kind of stuff with stop procedures and stuff like this. So nothing hinders you to use your knowledge of SQL. The thing is, for example, when to prefer XP query over XP cursor, for example, or the other way around is, for example, paging. XP query is you have all control. You have to page, you have to limit, you have all the power you have, and you have to measure if it's performant on your database system. And XP cursor is like really a cursor through your database. And if you have like a, for example, running totals is a good thing or a good example. Run them once overnight or run them for an import or stuff like this. Perfect tool. No memory leaks. You don't have to worry about everything. It's a really underestimated tool, I guess. But it is a tool, and it's the same thing. If you ask me, what's the best tool to break through a wall? Yeah, it's a hammer or a pickaxe. I don't know.
Or a saw, yeah. It depends.
It depends on the problem on the wall, but everything does the job. Some better, some not so good, but you have to measure. And everything that's about performance in any scale is about measurement and feedback. So, but that doesn't have anything to do with XAF and XPO. It's just what's the patterns that evolved over time, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think I was very successful with XP cursor and with XP view sometimes.
I mean, we used to use a lot of XP view before. I mean, in XAF. Now they do have something like XAF data view or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like the same equivalence, but we used to go to XPO level before and do stuff.
Good thing or a good example is, for example, property editors that they really need to be fast. So it's like typing secretaries that are typing all that. I can't type that fast. And they was like, okay, I have this list of countries, and and if I press one button, I want to have everything that starts with A, for example. okay, we cache that in an XP view and we put it in a dictionary, and that's data never changing, and we are selecting 2 columns of a huge configuration database. It's like 400 or 600 columns long, because they used to store that in that format. Yeah, okay, we select name and country name from huge amount of table, and then we cache it in memory. It's a technique. It's not. It's a tool to use. It's nothing.
And actually, you will have to do those tricks anyway if you do
Yes.
a normal development. So
Yes, yeah. It's nothing special.
It's code, as you said. Like you will have to do that either way. I mean,
it's
the constraint of the hardware will be the same.
We do XAF does 80% of the time, 90% of the work, and you have to tweak the last 10%. Really, really, really hard.
And you will have to do it anyway, because that's how you do an application. It's like you start from one design and then you're tweaking it along. But the thing is that that's where the main problem comes, is that XAF is so
it can't get.
It's so, yeah, I mean, and also there are so many stuff that are handled for you that it makes you lazy to go and find out how they work to do it in the best way. So I always tell my students, like, okay, now that you have more free time, go and improve your knowledge on object-oriented programming, on SQL, because an index is an index on the database. It will work the same for XPO and for your normal query now.
You have to do query plans. You have to do all that shit. If
one of the issue of why ORMs have this love-hate, that people love ORM and some people doesn't want to do anything with them, and there are a lot of controversy, a lot of articles, and actually I think the guy that we are always recommending the book from, Martin Fowler, about, he has an article about ORM hate, ORM like people like hate, and I think that the important part we need to see here is ORM does a lot for you, but you do need to know how everything is happening under the hood. You do need to know, have SQL knowledge, because at some point it's not going to do what you want, and it's up to you to modify.
There is one only exception about all ORM problems, and that's a 1+n query problem, and we can talk a huge hour on this. But the 1+n query problem is like ORM problem is like, you select a customer and you want to select the first or whatever kind of invoice, for example, the last invoice for the customer. And you don't have a foreign key, but you have some kind of subquery, and ORMs are really, really, really bad at doing intelligent joins on this kind of data. And you have to try to avoid these pitfalls in ORMs. That's the way it is. That's the way how we model things, and 99.9% of performance problems are based on n+1 queries, and you never have to see any query plan again for most of the applications. If you're doing hundreds of millions of records, okay, that's another stuff. But if you're like, I have 200 million records or 200,000 records, and now it's taking 20 seconds, probably it's selecting every record in your database. But that's nothing new.
20 seconds is something like small. We have customers like, this list view takes 10 minutes to load. Yeah, but because we load everything, that's why it takes 10 minutes.
So what Manuel is talking is about this for n+1 problem. So you guys can come back here and read about this issue. But again,
and that's the hate about ORMs, because you don't have control over. You have control. You need to know what to do.
Exactly. So it's important to have that SQL, to have that SQL knowledge, because again, it's exactly as XAF is a great framework, but you at some point need a specific feature that it doesn't come out of the box. So you need to know how to modify, how to get in under the hood and change it, so you can actually get the desired result. So the important part here is to know that we are doing the framework, the
There-
tool is doing all of this for you. You need to do the 10% to get
There
to the
are
last
no
part.
silver bullets in web
Exactly. There
development.
is no free
In
lunch.
development.
There is no free lunch anywhere. So, and there also, Dennis put this link on the chat. The database maintenance recommendation applies as always, like any other regular .NET application. You need to actually go to your execution plans, so your database maintenance. So one nice trick that Dave, actually, who was the one who was always, and I'm a big advocate for Azure. I'm always using Azure. And Jose, he's always pushing me to Linux. So we are in this sweet point. And Dave was the one who once recommended, and I have been done it since that. If you have a database that is actually performing really bad, pull it up to Azure
didn't know that.
and let it
That's
run
cool.
for 2-3 days, and Azure will give you an execution plan. It will tell you problematic queries. It will tell you what is slowing down, so you can have that Azure SQL advisor. I don't even know the name actually, but it gives you nice recommendations. So if you are not a database admin, if you don't have the knowledge, at least you have a guidance that Azure is giving for you.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm no SQL guy at all. I can read execution plans, but I'm not law for it.
Okay,
Cool.
so I think that the last question, because I asked in the chat if there was any other questions. As always, we went a little bit overboard, but we enjoyed this conversation a lot. We will get better with time frames little by little, and I'm always amazed of Safar sticking with us till the end. So even if it's gonna be published on YouTube later and everything, so thank you guys for everything. Again, I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoy having you guys here. It's not dress code required. It's a beer in cover, it's a coffee, anything. So the last question, so we can call it a day, will be for Manuel. When will test be available, Manuel?
It is right now. It is out there. You can use it. You can try it. Just last screen share real quick. I don't want to do a demo on Tasty because I did this the last time, but you can go to tasty.xenil.io. You have all the kind of stuff with.
What do you think if over this week or the next one we do a twist together and we go over all the features of, because I'm dying to
there was a lot of stuff going on about Tasty in the last couple of weeks. I did the getting started, I guess, the last time. It's really it is a testing tool. It's delicious .NET testing, so keep that in mind. It's called it isn't called anymore unit testing. It's called unit testing. So, but basically it is out there. You can support it. There will be a commercial license soon. You can buy me a beer, become a Patreon, do stuff like this. But the greatest milestone with Tasty in the long run so far is we can now test Tasty with Tasty, and it's like we can. Oh, I need to run one demo at least.
All right, we'll do it. We'll do it in the.
No, it's just running. It's like .NET. Okay, here, I just to have to build. And the thing is, now Tasty can control other Tasty processes. So all the integration tests will report back their test results. So it's like a test orchestrator thing. And it's doing that under the hood via some JSON streaming up RPC protocol. It's the same thing under the hood that Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code uses. And the neat thing is like, if you look at the code, it's like we have this.
I have one question. Do you have like a free license for open source project like mine?
It's open source. It's open source anyway, and it's totally free for any private projects. I won't sue you for using it in your company, but I will encourage you to use it as a tool. If you're using it as a in your team, in your platform, you can inject it into Blazor. You can do whatever you want. hit the sponsoring button. It's there.
Of course.
I really believe in this project. I think it's really cool. If you just buy me a beer, it's like $4. Do it. I put it out in the open. You can fork it. You can do whatever you want. But it's a little bit a matter of honor. It's like I am not a huge corporation. I'm not Dev Express. I'm an MVP. I need to pay my bills, do stuff like this. If you can see right here, it's like it's reporting back from multiple processes. It's not the fastest right now.
You know what I love the most is the icon.
Yes.
You can put like the hand like that.
You can change it if you want.
Yeah, because in the other demo was a different icon.
Yes, I know. No, you can do whatever you want. The blog post is out there. When will it be available? It is available. Especially, I don't know if anybody of you know that you can change my theme from dark light. And
I usually always see it dark.
Yes, it's my normal mode. Yes, but that's my branding color. So it's like with the logo up there.
Yeah.
So but the thing is, it's out there. There is a lot of motivation going on, especially the Blazor demo I did. You can't do anything like this in an integration testy way, where you have control over the testing names of reports, and then you have to merge back shit, and then you have to do like npm tests, like kind of you have multiple test runs, and then you have like 14 different XML reports you have to merge back together and stuff like this. And this is like more a test orchestrator, but it is a test runner as well. So it is where it is. So you can grab it at NuGet, where it is. So it's tasty. Go to tasty, go to NuGet, and grab it, install it, play with it. Docs are out there. If you like it, leave me feedback. Alex is a great inspiration on GitHub. It's also a community. We have issues. You can open pull requests. We have a really cool branded tasty reporter swag edition where you can pull out all your emojis and write your own reporter. So that's all open for ideas. We have some infrastructure shit to do. Pull off. This one is actually closed, but it's not documented yet. But hey, jump on. I think it's a great idea. And it's so easy. It's like file a new project, write a test. It's more like changing the philosophy of how to write your tests, and especially combined with the new C# features, is like trimming down to like a script with 5 lines of code, and then you can orchestrate them all together. So, and it's all process isolated, so you don't have to think about, oh, that's on another thread, or I have to reinitialize, for example, in XAF testing. Sometimes you have to XAF types info reset. You can do that on process isolation. And that's sometimes very handy. So
nice.
Yeah.
So it's available now.
So it's available now. You can play around with it, and if you buy me a beer, it would be awesome.
Right. That sounds like a plan, Manuel. I will definitely buy you a beer, and we can do the Twitch later on, you and me, or something like that, so I can learn more about this. I want again thanks every suffer who stuck to us till the end. I think that a good plan could be, because all the time, people are asking about integrating custom control, about doing some UI customizations, and again, how looks your app. It makes a lot of impact, especially for end users that want the app to look beautiful, who looks nice. So I think that the next meetup we can do some example of how to actually customize the UI and do some nice tricks that we already have and follow. We are gonna show how customizable UI XAF is. I hope that everybody that is here can live with the knowledge how fast we can create business offline application with XAF. That's the framework that we love. So thank you everyone to sticking with us. Thank you, Danny, for asking a question on the chat. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Manuel. And you guys have a great day. Please feel free to give us suggestions, send us email about what you like, what you don't. And next meet will be the second Thursday or second of the next month. So thank you again. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
One thing.
Bye-bye.
One thing. We are only 50 minutes over.
Yeah, we went a little bit overboard,
Yeah.
but we will get better. We will better.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Every day 10 minutes.
Every month we lose some minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Bye. Take care.